Yes, welcome to another video. Here we're going to talk about feasible set and efficient frontier. So again, I remember that I'm doing this video for the students who are sponsored by Sigalela, who are sponsored by Sigalela Scholarship Program and Dell Young Leaders. So we have already done this in our session. So I'm just gonna reiterate more on what we have learned last time. So take this as like a summary of what we have done. So we are going to talk about feasible set. So first of all, we are going to discuss a feasible set. So it's basically a set of all possible scenarios or all possible return and risk. Yes. So I don't know how to further like how to explain it much well, but this is what I mean. So when you have return and risk, measuring risk as a so measuring risk as the standard deviation, you are trying to find out between two assets. Let's say maybe you have asset A and B. You have A and B. What happens when you try to differ the weight of these assets? So where will your return and your risk be? We know that when you try to buy asset A, so this is your return versus your risk. Then when you try to buy B, this is your risk for B and your return for B. But then what happens when you buy, again, I'm like when you want to buy 50% of A and 50% of B, where will your risk be and where will your returns be? So this will differ depending on, so this will differ depending on the correlation coefficient, the correlation coefficient of A and B. Remember that the correlation coefficient is going to be the covariance of A and B over the standard deviation of A, and again times the standard deviation of B. So if the correlation coefficient of A and B is going to be equals to 1, right? If your correlation between A and B is going to be equals to 1, then your feasible set is going to be in between, like it's going to be a straight line, right? So this will be your correlation again, I'm like this will be your feasible set. So what if your correlation of A and B is going to be equals to -1? Then you're going to have something like this, right? And then what happens when your correlation coefficient it's something in between? Let's say maybe the correlation of A and B is going to be in between -1 and 1. Then you're going to have a smooth line like this. So this is your, again, so these are all your feasible sets, right? So remember we are still looking at two assets, A and B, right? So looking at A and B, right? So we know that it is quite rare to find assets which have a correlation coefficient of 1 or -1. So we would normally find something in between. Normally assets would have the correlation coefficient in between. So when we talk about the feasible set, we can write it like this generically, because we will assume that it is mostly going to be in between. So the correlation coefficient is going to be in between -1 and 1. So when you look at this thing, you can see that for any given risk, this line on top, this one on top will always give you the highest return, will always give you a higher return for any given risk, for any given risk. So since this thing will give you a higher return for any given risk, we are going to give it a special name. We are going to call it the efficient frontier. We are going to call it the efficient frontier. So basically that line on top is is called the efficient frontier because it gives you the highest possible risk for any given so it gives you the lowest gain, so it gives you the highest return for any possible risk, or you can say that it can. So okay, yeah, so this is how far I can go in terms of like explaining it before I can go to like more. So let's say maybe we are looking at 3 or more assets, right? So when we are looking at 3 or more assets, the feasible sets will be, like it's gonna be something like this. It's gonna be something like this. And I'm not gonna do the mathematics why this is like this for now. We can do them in class. Again, the same idea hold that this line on top, like you are going to have that line such that for any given risk, let's say maybe you have risk 1, you can say that you have, so this is gonna be where you're gonna find your return, but then you can see that the one which has higher return is this one, is this point over here. So that point again, I'm like that line on top, we're gonna call it the efficient frontier because it gives you the highest possible risk. Like it gives you the highest possible return for any given risk, and it also gives you the so it also gives you the lowest risk. It also gives you the lowest risk for any given return. So for any given return, it gives you the lowest risk. So this is like when you talk about the feasible set as well as the efficient frontier. So I will see you again on Monday in class. But then this is just a summary. So I'm gonna make a new video where I'm gonna talk about Markowitz model. I'm just putting these ideas out there so that you are familiar with them, and if you need help, you can come to me. Thank you.